When the sun comes up on America, across open fields, small towns, and city streets, a new day begins. And here, we rise with it. This is where hard work meets headlines, where truth matters, and America wakes up informed.
An interesting week.
They all are.
This is your country. This is your morning. This is Daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. America, let's do it together.
Love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
And it starts right now.
All right, another big morning here as we kick off another big day. Very interesting day for a variety of reasons. Primary day in Wisconsin and South Carolina. We'll get to that and cover it throughout the day. Here are three big things you need to know. Number one, Abdul El Sayed is causing near mutiny and panic in parts of the Democrat Party. Normal Democrats are running for the door. It will accelerate when Francesca Hong wins the Democrat primary for governor in Wisconsin today. She's leading by 20 points. Number two, more damning evidence against Anthony Fauci found in his text messages have been released, and it shows clearly that Fauci dismissed the risk of miscarriages by pregnant women in favor of pushing vaccines. It's disgusting. And number three, something quiet and dangerous has been spreading across this country. Doesn't come with sirens or a formal declaration. It comes on steel poles at intersections, in parking lots, outside gun ranges, and along residential roads. It's called flock. And it's turning the simple act of driving from one place to another into a permanent government record. These automatic license plate readers were sold to towns and cities as a crime-fighting tool. Catch the stolen car, find the missing person, track the dangerous suspect. Reasonable people nodded along. Conservatives who believe in law and order were willing to give limited tools a chance. What we get instead is a sprawling, always-on surveillance network that logs the movements of millions of law-abiding citizens every single day with almost no meaningful limits, no real accountability, and a growing track record of abuse and armed encounters. Start with Chandler, Arizona. The city is now discontinuing more than 40 of these cameras after an audit turned up yet another officer who used the system for personal reasons, not a police investigation, personal use. The cameras come down only after the misuse becomes too public to ignore. Here's an example.
After careful consideration, city leadership has decided to discontinue the use of flock cameras in Chandler. The city council will not pursue a renewal of our service agreement with the vendor at this time. Accountability, transparency, and public trust are among the core principles of a high-functioning police department, and they guide decision-making at every level of our organization. Having said that, this week, for the first time in nearly 3 years, a proactive audit system flagged an anomaly in the flock system, which was used by a member of our department. As a result, we immediately launched an internal investigation to determine exactly what happened. Part of that investigation will be to determine if flock was used inappropriately, and if so, discipline will follow.
This isn't a standalone, by the way. In Savannah, Georgia, 6 employees, 4 of them police officers, fired after conducting at least 127 searches with no legitimate law enforcement purpose at all. 127 times someone with access decided the rules didn't apply to them. And the story goes on. Here's more.
After careful consideration, city
Flash is growing amid rising reports of misuse. Dozens of officers now charged or accused of using the technology inappropriately, including stalking. This North Carolina police officer arrested for allegedly using it to track her boyfriend's ex-wife more than 30 times. She's set to appear in court at the end of the month.
That's what bothers me the most, that the people that use this stuff for personal gain.
Critics also calling these cameras an invasion of privacy. Some are being vandalized in acts of protest.
Now, the people trusted with the data cannot be trusted with the data, and the system keeps expanding anyway. It gets worse when you understand what the technology can actually do. Flock's Freefall surge doesn't just read license plates. It can pick up specific text on your bumper stickers. On your bumper stickers. Listen to this.
So if somebody said, I want to know everybody that has a particular bumper sticker on their car, would this information be findable by?
So there's two answers. The first is your license plate reader program in South Kingstown do not have these abilities. So they can identify if there is a bumper sticker in general. You do not have what's called the license plate reader freeform, which allows for a text description saying I'm looking for this type of bumper sticker. So that does exist. South Kingstown does not have that program.
Think about that for a second. Your political slogan, your affiliation, the message you choose to put on your own vehicle is now searchable government information. The same network that was supposed to find stolen cars can be used to map who's driving around with which ideas on display. It's not public safety. That is political tracking dressed up as traffic enforcement. These cameras are showing up in places that would make the founding fathers' skin crawl. Like a public gun range, for example, in Daytona Beach. Lawyer finds them and immediately understands the implication. This is data collection on people exercising their Second Amendment rights. Listen to this one.
There are freaking flock cameras at the gun range. This is the entrance to the gun range. So they got you coming in. They also got you going out. Today's Wednesday, so the gun range is closed until 2. So there's nobody here. Now these are in the driveway to the gun range. They're not out on the road. This is only catching cars and trucks coming in the driveway to the gun range, and right there's the range. Unbelievable.
Seems like targeted observation of a community that many in government already view with suspicion. And what happens when people try to protect their own privacy or that of their community? I'm not even talking about vandalism. I'm talking about places like this cannabis dispensary in Michigan that didn't appreciate a flock camera aimed at customers in its parking lot. So it put up this sign to block the camera's view. And what did the local authorities do? Order them to take it down, pressure the business, and order the removal of its own signage while tracking stays in place. People who simply do not want their everyday movements logged and stored are the ones being told to stand down, take down signs, and comply. Privacy no longer a right you exercise. It is an inconvenience the surveillance state expects you to surrender. The same dynamic plays out with ordinary citizens who try to push back, like a 77-year-old man in Florida who decided he had enough. He stationed himself outside a flock camera with a pool skimmer while multiple strangers showed up, bought him cold drinks, an umbrella for shade, even snacks. That is, until the police showed up to question him. Here it is.
Yo, what's that piece of shit hanging on the pole? That's a camera, right? And you got the boys out here protecting it. They got like, I don't know, $1,000 worth of gold? Yo, what's your name? I'll come bail you out. Carl Dunn? Gun? Gunn? If you hit the county, I'm coming to bail you out today.
Yeah. Doesn't vandalize anything, doesn't threaten anyone, simply stands there with the long pool skimmer and blocks the camera's view of the road. Law-abiding. Peaceful. Clear about his reasons. What do you think of flock cameras? Send me an email, stevegruber.com. I'll have more about this after the break. It doesn't get better. In fact, it gets markedly worse when we return on Daybreak. Look, regular Americans recognize what is happening even when officials pretend not to with Flock. Yet the man we just showed you exercising his right to privacy is the one treated as the problem. Once again, the person who does not want to be tracked is the one forced to comply. We have ways to make you comply. You will comply. These installations are often hidden in plain sight, too. What looks like a routine speed detection or traffic safety camera turns out to be a full Flock node, quietly logging every plate that passes. Here's example 1000.
Check this out. You see this thing back here? Let me show you something. This is one of those mobile speed devices, solar powered. It's got a Tennessee tag on it because that's weird because we are in New Smyrna Beach. But what is lurking behind this one? This is another one up here, and right here, there's a Flock camera on the back side of this one here as well. Basically, they can put this anywhere. This is what they're doing. This is not as sneaky as the other one that was mounted inside of the box. But look at this thing. This is it right up here. You see it. This is a company, All Traffic Solutions. It's a Speed Alert 24, but they're putting Flock cameras everywhere that they can. They'll probably put them on your mailboxes if they could.
Oh, they would if they could. Drivers don't even notice until the network is already dense enough to make removal politically difficult. The real-world harm lands on innocent people as well. In Brookfield, Illinois, woman stopped twice in a week. Police, guns drawn, stopped the interstate, I-75, because an alert generated by the Flock network was false and never properly canceled. High-risk enforcement, weapons pointed, adrenaline pumping, all because the permanent tracking system produced a stale flag and human operators, failed to do their job. Listen to this poor woman.
Ben Hansen spoke with a woman seen on video who says this isn't the first time this happened to her this week.
Like, where can we go? Like, it was just a whole lot, like.
Amber Newell is still shaken up from Thursday.
I haven't been asleep since this happened. Every time I close my eyes, all I can see is guns.
When Brookfield police surrounded her car on I-94, drew their guns, and told her to come out with her hands up.
My mom is like my go-to person. I wanted to call her so bad yesterday, but I'm like, if I make a sudden move, it's going to be over. It's going to end my life.
Friday, we learned Newell did nothing wrong.
It was very embarrassing because after they put us in cuffs, they walked us to the car. I'm not knowing what's going on. I'm scared. All you see is people in their cars recording. The only thing they said was contact Milwaukee Police Department. It's their fault. That's all they kept saying was it's their fault. It's not our fault. It's their fault.
MPD declined an interview. Newell says last Monday, the same thing happened when Milwaukee police pulled her over with guns drawn. She says officers never explained why, towed her car, and let her go. Newell says she's still scared to drive her car, and her daughter is too.
My daughter keep asking, Mama, is the police gonna get us? She don't want to ride in the car no more because she don't know if the police gonna pull us over and do it again.
Just put you on the list. Can't get it out because once you're in the computer network, you're in there. We all are. Good reasons or bad, doesn't matter. Without the always-on network, those confrontations never happen. The technology creates the danger, and then the authorities just shrug it off and say the problem is operator error or the system messed up. But it is the system's problem. This is not a left versus right issue in the usual sense. It is a limited government issue, period. You want me on camera 24 hours a day? I don't. Conservatives who spent years warning about government overreach cannot suddenly decide that permanent location tracking of every car and person is somehow okay because the marketing brochure says crime. Stop crime. The Fourth Amendment was written precisely because the founders understood that general warrants and searches without suspicion are not tools of justice, they're tools of control. A system that records where you go, when you go, and increasing what messages you display, like your bumper sticker, without a warrant and without cause, is the modern version of the general warrant. Calling it a camera does not change the constitutional problem. The abuse is not a bug, it is a feature of any system that gives thousands of people low-friction access to a vast database of me and you and where we go. Personal use in Chandler, 127 unjustified searches in Savannah, police text searches on bumper stickers, cameras at gun ranges and legal businesses. High-risk stops closing the interstate based on bad information. Everyday citizens and business owners pressured to comply when they object. Every one of these stories follows the same logic. The technology outruns the safeguards. The safeguards are weak to begin with, and the people who object are the ones told to adjust their expectations and their behavior. We're told the cameras keep us safe. Safe from what? From the rare violent criminal? Or from the much larger population of ordinary people who simply prefer not to be cataloged? The trade is never presented honestly. You're asked to accept permanent tracking in exchange for the promise of better crime statistics, while the actual record shows repeated misuse and almost no consequences for those that abuse the system. The answer isn't complicated. Cities and counties should freeze new installations. Existing contracts should be disclosed in full. Every camera location, every search log, every data sharing agreement, every single one. Personal or political misuse should carry real criminal penalty, not quiet internal discipline. Cameras have no business at gun ranges, outside legal businesses that object, or along roads where the only crime is driving while free. If a department needs to find a specific vehicle tied to a specific crime, it can seek a warrant like every other investigative tool. The permanent suspicionless network is the problem. The choice is still available. Remove the cameras, enforce real limits on the ones that remain, or keep pretending that a technology designed to track everyone will somehow only be used against the guilty. History for the last few years of flock deployment suggests otherwise. Law-abiding citizens should not have to choose between their privacy and compliance with the government. We have ways to make you comply. No. No, I say. I'll leave it there for now. I'll be right back. All right, big primary in Wisconsin. We pretty well know that the DSA, the communist, is going to win the run for the nomination to be governor in the state of Wisconsin. We know that. Francesca Hong up by like 20 points in all the polls, and I expect that she'll win. Even if it's close like Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan, she'll still pull that off. Meanwhile, the one that I'm watching that I find most fascinating is Darlene Graham, Lindsey Graham, the late Lindsey Graham's sister, who was appointed to the seat by the governor of the state of South Carolina, is now running 10 people in this field to replace Lindsey Graham for a 6-year term. Ralph Norman seems to be in the best position. Ralph Norman, who's been on this program many times, is actually leading in some polls now. Graham is endorsed by President Trump. This could be one of the rare times he doesn't come out on top. But how it works is this. The two top vote getters today will have a runoff election at the end of the month. And this is the one that I find fascinating, the race between Graham and Norman. There is a third candidate, Fry, Congressman Fry. He could be in the mix, but he seems to be trailing behind in the polling. We'll keep a close eye on it and have it all for you tomorrow, but it's interesting. I think Ralph Norman is the right choice for the record for the state of South Carolina. Did you know that over 90% of Americans don't get enough essential vitamins and minerals from food alone? And some research suggests natural vitamins may be superior to synthetic ones. Longevity, sponsoring this program, is an excellent source of over 20 natural vitamins and minerals from real food sources, not synthetic. Longevity is a complete nutritional support that gives you everything you need to age well. It's great stuff. We use it in this house. Football season started yesterday, which means my boy will be using it even more. Ivy loves it before and after workouts, and I just like it because it tastes great. LongevityWellness.co. Enter the promo code Gruber at checkout for a special discount. LongevityWellness.co. Promo code Gruber at checkout. You can send me a thank you note at stevegruber.com and any other email you'd like. I'll take a break and be right back. This is Daybreak. Jumping right back in it now. I mentioned Wisconsin. I mentioned South Carolina. What about Vermont? My next guest is on the ballot to be the Republican running for the lone U.S. House seat in the state of Vermont. Gerald Malloy, a retired U.S. Army officer, West Point grad, and he's Trump-backed as well. He's a Republican. He joins me now. Sir, nice to see you today.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me on again. If you recall, I ran against Bernie Sanders 2 years ago. Nobody's come closer, and actually led the Vermont GOP to the greatest state gains in the entire country. Vermont is finally ready for change, and frankly, I'm running against. I'll choose a socialist, and I have to win.
Well, it's interesting. There's this. They're making us choose. And I'm glad they are. It's not just, hey, kind of different politics, kind of the uniparty thing really isn't happening. Right now it's choose between common sense and communism. That's where we are, isn't it?
Exactly. And GOP got into the Montpelier State House and actually brought common sense back. 30 years of Democrat, progressive, now socialist control in Montpelier, 25 of nothing but liberal, progressive, socialist representation in D.C. Vermonters have had it. It's become unaffordable exactly because of socialist policies like redistribution of wealth and control of land. Vermonters see it and they're ready for change. It's very exciting.
Educate the folks a little bit. How long has it been since a Republican won a statewide race in Vermont? I don't care what it is. Governor, Senate, the House, any race.
So the history is it was 100 years straight of nothing but Republicans in D.C. That changed over time. Senator Leahy got in there in 74, but it goes back 25 years where Senator Jeffords, Republican, jumped over to the Democrat Party in 2001, 25 years ago. And so we've had nothing but Democrat, progressive, and now socialist in Washington, D.C. for 25 years here in Vermont. Good news is we have a soon-to-be record 6-time Republican governor, Phil Scott, and he and the rest of the GOP are bringing common sense, as you mentioned, to Vermont.
All right, so I didn't know. I was not familiar with your governor, sir. I apologize. Doesn't get in the headlines a lot, but you do have statewide Republicans that can win, so it is possible. It's not just Bernie's state, after all.
Right, and no one came closer when I ran against Bernie. I could tell you all about that, but I think Vermonters realize they watch him running around the country, stumping for people like Graham Plattner. And my opponent, Becca Ballant, she's in her second term. She's laser focused on 2 issues that are not the big issues for Vermonters. It's about affordability. We've become unaffordable and people are leaving. We are a rural state. And she and the rest of the congressional delegation are not doing anything for Vermont other than bashing the current administration. So I look to work with the Republican governor, bring business to Vermont, which we need badly. I have an MBA and 40 years of government business experience, so it is very exciting.
I think a lot of people just write Vermont off as a progressive lost cause. They do. And maybe I was in that column, to be honest with you, because you never see any Republicans come out. All we get from Vermont is Bernie, who flies all over the country promoting, socialist, communist policies, supporting people like Abdul El Sayed. He supported Graham Plattner. He supported all these terrible people and candidates.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Well, and what has happened, finally, Vermonters have woken up. Something called Rural Vermont Rising happened this last session because the progressive state Senate delegation tried to push through a land grab act called 181, and the GOP stepped in and rolled back the bad parts about that and rolled back so that we didn't have yet another huge property tax. We've had 60% property tax hikes over the last 7 years. So Vermonters,
how much?
Hit them in the wall. 60% over the last
60%. Oh my gosh! Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Vermonters, you hit people in the wallet long enough, they're going to react, and they've had it. They're ready to finally get balanced, modest representation in D.C. From Vermont.
What's it going to take? I guess maybe I'll look at it this way. You're retired Army, right? It's almost maybe a sneak attack because the National Democrats aren't looking, right? If you've got a machine that's built, you've got a guy who's running for governor for the 6th time. Is that what you said? 6th
Correct.
Term? He's got a machine. He's got a mechanism. He's got to get out the vote machinery that you probably have to work with. to help get it over the finish line. Any polling there? Any idea where you sit?
Well, the big, the polling. I tell you, the big thing about polling. One thing that came out is that 60% of young Vermonters, 18 to 34, want to leave Vermont. So, and like I mentioned, folks are leaving at left and right in droves, and small businesses. Vermonters see that. So, it's finally dawned on Vermont. Experiment is sorry about that. As moving towards progressive actions here in Vermont, it's failed. It's socialism. It's failed, and Vermonters are ready for change.
Well, so I guess you're going to be out there pounding. Luckily, you've got a small piece of real estate to deal with. It is smaller. You don't have to travel as many miles. You can knock on a lot of doors, shake a lot of hands, go to a lot of parades. What's the message? What's the message? Let me ask you about some of this stuff. I just did a whole discussion about flock cameras, people being spied on every day, taxes going up. I mean, what's your position on these flock cameras? Should they be on every street corner?
Absolutely not. We don't need Big Brother looking over us left and right. Affordability is the big issue. And I can tell you, my opponent voted in as state senator, Senate pro temp, all the taxes and programs and blocked what's called Act 250. That's housing reform that would enable development of the state. Blocked Act 250. And Vermonters realize that. She is one of the reasons for the big problem here. It's affordability. So I look to get down to D.C. and, our congressional delegation, Bernie Sanders, Peter Welch, Becca Balint, they're not working with our Republican governor at all to do things for Vermont. So that's what I'm looking to do in D.C. And you mentioned West Point grad, decorated veteran. I've served Europe, Asia, Persian Gulf, Middle East. I've worked in D.C. for 15 years as a business executive. I can do all those things for Vermont, which Vermont needs very badly. We cannot stay on this. We need to bring industry and technology to Vermont, much like the president's trying to do reshoring industry, technology, manufacturing, production here in the United States. I want to see made in the United States, made in Vermont once again.
Wouldn't we all, Gerald? I wish you well in your pursuit. I think that it would be a shock to the world for a Republican to win. That's not saying it can't happen. It certainly can. But I think it would be a big wake-up call for everybody. Greatly appreciate you being here. Real quickly, what's your website?
It's deploymalloy.com. So all one word, deploymalloy.com. I can use all the help you can get, any kind of support here, because there is a Democrat machine that I'm running against.
Sure.
But get ready for that shock, because we're going to have a win here in Vermont. And I'll be the only member of the GOP from all of New England.
Wouldn't that be something? Something we should welcome. Sir, thank you for being here, and best of luck.
Thank you, Steve. Great to see you again.
Greatly appreciate it. Nice to see you again. All right. When we come back, we're going to check in on your money. How's your wallet doing? We'll be right back. Let's take a look at your money, shall we? It's time to figure out what your money is up to. Are you paying attention? I certainly hope so. Nick Hopwood is paying attention every single day. He says you can't have any lazy money. Nick, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Steve. Great to be here.
Nice to see you. All right, so I was on vacation last week, but I saw a couple of things that made me go, that's really remarkable, which is I saw the Dow get over 55,000 just for a moment, but I'm like, whoever thought you'd see the day, right? I mean, honestly, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's been great. I remember back in 99, they were talking about Dow 30,000 and it seemed untouchable, but here we are at 55. And by the way, last week was a breakout week, just a monster performance for the markets. So everyone should be checking their brokerage accounts now and smiling.
So why is that? Look, the economy has lost jobs. Inflation's still at, 3.5%. The Fed's not going to do anything about that, obviously, because they think that it's still too high. In fact, there's a discussion they might raise rates. That'd be a crazy thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the odds are now that the market is saying that the Fed will raise rates between now and the end of the year. But when you have a down jobs number for July, like we saw last week, where government lost 53,000 jobs, the private sector gained only 30,000 jobs, so it was a net loss. The market actually rallied on the news because at this point, bad news is good news, which means the Fed will not raise.
So they're happy. So you think the Fed is just frozen in place for now?
Yeah, I think it would be surprising to see the Fed raise rates by 0.25%, although the market is predicting that. I would be in a camp saying that they're going to hold rates neutral. That's my opinion.
And we'll see what happens there. But tell me about this big breakout of obviously when we had the tariffs go into place towards the end of the first quarter this year. Markets took a dive. Things were terrible. But ever since then, this has been a remarkable year if you have a 401k or if you have investments. It's just been a remarkable year, hasn't it?
It has. And I don't know, Anthony, if we have that chart, but you're right. The first quarter, right, March was down, led the first quarter down. But then April and May were huge rebound months, such that it was the second best April ever on record. So the second quarter snapped back, and here we are in the third quarter continuing. After a sluggish June and July, August is now breaking out, and it's not just the S&P or the Dow, as you mentioned. It's globally, it's Europe, it's emerging markets. Everywhere is breaking out, and I think, Steve, the main story here is not Iran or jobs or anything like that. It's earnings. So get this. Right now, in the second quarter earnings season, earnings are up 47%. I have never seen anything like this in my career unless we're rebounding from a recession or from like a COVID situation. 47%. And even if you take away Google and Amazon, earnings are still up 28%. And so the market is really rallying behind earnings. And if you zoom out, 10, 20 years, the market really follows earnings. We're seeing that right now. And one more note on earnings. Next quarter, analysts expect earnings of another 26% gain.
And so what you're saying is that the market's going to follow this curve on the way up. It's going to, what are we going to be, a Dow 65,000?
That's your prediction, but yeah.
It's not a prediction, it's a question. It's a question.
The market will follow earnings. It's not a straight line, it's not perfect, but over time it will. So if the analysts are correct, then yes, we would expect the market to be strong.
That's absolutely remarkable. All right, so your I guess your strategy for people, pay attention to your money. Check your net worth. Look at what your Social Security payout is going to be, and at what age should you take it. Make sure, because you always say no lazy money. That's basically your catchphrase, no lazy money. How important is it for people to be paying attention closely, even when it seems like it's sunshine everywhere?
Yeah, I think everyone should be really intimate with their finances, okay? So every month, you need to track your expenses and track your net worth. Why do we have to track our expenses? Well, I'm not putting you on a budget, right? No one likes to be on a diet. But we have to understand what our needs are so we can plan for the future. Steve, if you come to me and you say, am I on track for retirement? I need to know how much you spend each month to identify that goal. And then from a net worth point of view, if you're not tracking where your assets are, what the values are changing from month to month, if you're not tracking your liabilities over time, then you really don't have that intimate sense of your balance sheet growing. I've been doing this for over 20 years, that is tracking my expenses and net worth, and it's really rewarding to look back and see the progress we've made.
Yeah, it's remarkable. You give people free analysis if they get a hold of you. You'll take a look at their Social Security, for example, correct?
Yeah, and also you can download our template for our free update for your budget and your net worth each month.
Free from Nick. No lazy money. You don't even have to spend any. By the way, the QR code's right there on your screen. So, Nick, it's a volatile election year. Oil prices are still at about 83. They're not out of control, but gas is just silly. I tell you who's making money, Chevron, Exxon, big profits. Those guys are killing it, aren't they?
They are. And the question is, will oil prices stay this high? I would bet not. And then you have to ask yourself, what will happen to those stocks if oil goes down?
Yeah, well, but what happens to the economy in general if gas becomes $3.50 again, or $3 or whatever? I mean, it's just, that'll supercharge the economy. I'm no expert. I'm not Nick, but I can tell you that's what I think is going to happen. Anyhow, Nick, appreciate seeing you. The QR code right there. Go ahead. Last word to you.
Yeah, like you say, if oil's down, it's a tax cut, period.
Yeah, there you go. Nick Hopwood, no lazy money, Peak Wealth Management, peakwm.com, or the QR code right on your screen. Give Nick a call. I trust him. You should too. Nick, always good to see you.
Thank you, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. Again, the QR code's right on your screen, peakwm.com. I talk to Nick a lot. I say, hey, what's going on with this or that? That's why I share them with you. Level-headed, common sense input from a guy who pays attention to it intimately. Back after this. All right, so one of the rarest, if not the rarest pistol on earth, and the most valuable pistol on earth, belonged to Adolf Hitler. It has an auction value, at least I'm told in this article, of $42 million. Can you imagine? The reason is it's one of only 5 ever built. And it's a Luger, as you can imagine. It's described as the Holy Grail of firearms and apparently swiped during a SWAT-style raid by masked officers at the home of repairman Juan Pablo Rupel's home in Buenos Aires, 2016. One-of-a-kind piece. No question that is the most valuable semi-automatic handgun in the world. He inherited it from his great uncle, former Hitler bodyguard Hans Rupel. All right? And now it's the point of contention. The make of the gun is a Luger Parabellum 45 caliber, number 5, one of only 5 1907 prototypes forged by the late famed George Luger. Yeah. It's $42 million. What do you make of that? There's a court battle over who actually owns the gun, as you can imagine. What do you think it's worth? Anyhow, AI can clone your voice, forge your signature, create fake documents, and criminals are using these tools right now to steal from you. How? Title fraud. Your property records are public by law. Your name, your address, even your signature. It's all sitting in databases that people can get into all the time. A cyber scammer pulls your records, uses AI to forge a transfer document, files it with the county, and on paper, they now own your property. They can borrow against it, even sell it if you don't realize it, and that's why I use Home Title Lock. They monitor my property's title 24/7. They can do the same for you. Alert you of any changes. And if you're a victim, their team of restoration experts will spend up to $1 million restoring your title. So when's the last time you looked at your title? You can do it today. Use the promo code Gruber at HometitleLock.com to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of the $1 million triple lock protection, so you can make sure you're not already a victim. HometitleLock.com, promo code is Gruber. All right, after the break, you know what's happening? Ivy will be here. You don't want to miss that. Coming up on Daybreak.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now on Real America's Voice.
All right, welcome back as we kick off another brand new hour here on the program. Glad to have you on board for Daybreak. Three big things this hour. Number one, 1 year into the National Guard deployment in Washington, D.C. The results are remarkable. Thousands of arrests, deportations, and the rescue of thousands of kids that were missing. Pretty remarkable and impressive. Number two, President Trump had a major court victory in his $10 billion lawsuit against the BBC for deceptive editing in a so-called documentary about January 6th, and now the suit goes forward, $10 billion. And number three, like I said, all eyes on Wisconsin and South Carolina today. One state, Wisconsin, set to nominate a woman for governor under the Democrat banner that is so radical even Bernie Sanders can't endorse her. And in South Carolina, a tight race to reach the runoff for the Senate seat left behind by Lindsey Graham. I'm hoping a real conservative emerges there. But for the left, Wisconsin, just another warning. Just another warning that the Democrat Party has been hijacked by communists and it's collapsing in on itself. Ivy's here this morning, as always. Good morning, Ivy.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. Pretty in pink, I see.
Thank you. Good morning. It was nice to see you as well.
Yeah, I just want to share this with the folks because Joe Scarborough on Morning Joe over on MS Now, or whatever they call it, just went off the deep end, attacking Hassan Piker, you know, the guy that's out there who thinks we deserve 9/11, and he's the showboat for these radical DSA people. I
he's
guess,
a real peach.
Yeah, he's a real peach. I guess Joe couldn't take it. Joe Scarborough, a Biden apologist. Remember the guy who said Joe Biden's sharper than anybody else? I don't give an F about what you think, blah, blah, blah. He can't even take it. Listen to this.
Crazy that we're even having this conversation. If somebody says a woman being raped doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, it's okay to call that person out and demand that candidates distance themselves from those people. If you want to rule, over a party and win elections. If somebody says going to a rally the day after Hamas slaughters more Jews than any time since the Holocaust, it's okay for Chuck Schumer. It's okay for Hakeem Jeffries to call that despicable and demand that people distance themselves from that. That's okay.
Wow.
So why are we bringing this up now? We're bringing this up now because it seems an awful lot like what was happening in 2024 when Democrats couldn't get out of their own way to win an election they should have won.
Do you get the sense that he's like the old guy in tidy whities running, yelling in the front, waving his finger at you?
I think he needs a blood pressure cuff.
Yeah, he was
Joe,
pretty upset there.
You created this.
Right.
This is your bed. Enjoy it anyhow. I just wanted to share that with the folks. Joe Scarborough popping a vein in his head. Good.
Well, they should be angry, and it's not wrong there when these folks are, say these insane things and they represent these insane things. Those people who have been around for a long time in Congress should stand up, or the Senate, they should stand up and say, this is wrong.
And they don't.
And they
except
don't.
for Fetterman. Scarborough
Right.
was in the House 20 years ago, but he's become a lefty. He's been indoctrinated, but even he can't take it. His circuit breaker popped, it seems to me. Anyhow, so those are today. Wisconsin's primary is today.
And South Carolina.
South Carolina, the race to replace Lindsey Graham. We'll see what happens. Ralph Norman and Graham's sister are the two most likely to win for the runoff. Neither one will secure 50% of the votes, so there'll be a runoff here at the end of the month.
Ralph Norman is running for governor, correct? Or not?
He did.
Okay, and he lost.
And he did not win there, but now
Okay.
looks like he's in the top two.
Okay.
And if he comes out on top today, the prediction markets say that Ralph Norman could be the senator, even though Nordine is endorsed by Donald Trump. It could be a rare time when Trump's endorsement doesn't get somebody over the finish line. She has no experience. People in South Carolina, a lot of them that we know, family of ours, tired of Lindsey Graham. They didn't vote for him anymore. They're over him. So I think that Ralph Norman has
a shot there, huh?
He's got a good shot here, yeah.
You mentioned off the top there that 10 billion defamation lawsuit against the BBC.
Yeah.
And the judge, U.S. District Judge Roy K. Altman, is allowing Trump to amend his complaint.
Yep.
Which means then he can continue down the road with the lawsuit.
It's a big win.
I find this hilarious that the BBC claims that they're denying that the program they aired, when they edited it and tried to make it look more negative towards the president, was not defamatory.
Well,
I'm like, are you serious?
For people who don't know,
Yeah,
they took a
tell people about
clip
it.
of the president and then spliced it with a clip that he said 57 minutes later in his speech to make it look as if he was trying to get people to go to the Capitol to create problems.
Yeah.
Totally changes the context, changes everything completely. It's not. Look, a documentary, by rule, when you want to win an Oscar for a documentary, I know I've looked at these things, you're not allowed to edit like that. You can only take whole clips.
It was purposeful editing to make him look badly. And unbelievable. This is a news organization.
It is?
It
used to be.
Allegedly.
It used to be.
I think people think it's a news organization.
Some people
But clearly
do.
when they do things like this, it makes you wonder, well, if you would do this to him, who else are you doing it to?
Well, those are the same people that think that NPR is a news organization.
Well, that's true.
You know.
So, Steve, I don't know if you saw this, but the Powerball jackpot is nearing $1 billion.
Do we have a ticket?
I think we should go get a couple.
Yeah.
But I find this news story hilarious because it says financial experts and psychologists have long warned about sudden wealth syndrome, a term used to describe the anxiety, guilt, paranoia, and identity crisis that can follow a massive, unexpected financial windfall. Now, I understand, like, all of a sudden, if you won $1 billion, like, and you didn't have a lot, that'd be pretty crazy. And what the heck would you do? But it goes on to say, lottery winners frequently experience fractured relationships, isolation, and loss of trust as friends, relatives, and even strangers begin treating them differently.
Yeah.
No.
Hey,
dude,
you won $1
you're
billion.
rich.
Hey. Yeah. Look, there's a lot of stories about, lottery winners that have tragic outcomes. I get that.
Yeah. Really quick, I got a couple more.
Go ahead. I was going to say we can handle the money, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think so too. We could do a lot of good, but I can understand how that would be difficult for some. Have you heard about this? Health officials in Louisiana and Florida are warning Gulf Coast beachgoers to take precautions amid an increase in the infections from Vibrio vulnificus, which it's a deadly bacterium. It's a flesh-eating bacteria. So if you're walking along the beach and say you have cuts on your foot and you're walking in that brackish water, or if you cut your foot on a rock or something like that, you can get this infection, and so it's extremely painful, and it is a flesh-eating bacteria.
Yeah, you know what I'm hearing here? Here's what I'm hearing. I'm not allowed to go in the water in Florida.
And Louisiana.
And Louisiana.
Anything on the
Because
Gulf.
you will
We won't be
absolutely not
visiting
let
there
me. Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. We will
No,
not
but if
go
you
there.
are visiting those places, make sure that you're aware of this. It's taken actually 5 deaths, taken 5 lives. So it can be very serious.
So if you have a cut on your foot, don't walk around in the brackish waters. I just lost my swimming privileges, everybody. Ivy won't let me go anywhere near it. Trust me on that. Ivy, love you.
Love you.
Keep me safe.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll take a break and be back. It's Daybreak. Nice to see you today. Back after this. All right, Anthony Fauci in the headlines a lot these days. The text messages, very problematic. Now it seems that Fauci discussed the COVID mRNA injections and knew that they're problematic, especially for pregnant women, because they would cause miscarriages. Oh, there's a lot of action here. Alan Mendenhall is joining me now. He's with the Heritage Foundation to discuss it further. Alan, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
All right, so these text messages, well, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse for Fauci, because we had all the messaging about him loving on himself and how he was the greatest, most attractive, most wonderful person ever to live. Bizarre writings to himself, by the way, when he's 80 years old. What do you make? I mean, it's just bizarre. Anyhow, but now it's gotten worse because these text messages, I mean, the miscarriage percentages were like 80%. He didn't care. He plowed forward. I mean, what do you tell moms today that had spontaneous miscarriages after getting the injection?
Well, it's interesting that Fauci, the man who declared that he was the science, said, "Oh, I asked around and found out that that the second vaccine dose could be associated with miscarriages in the first trimester." You would think that if he were the science, he wouldn't have to just ask around. I've been talking to people, But what's troubling is that is what he was saying in private on these text messages on this government-issued cell phone. But publicly, he's saying something else, telling people there are no red flags for pregnant women, despite the fact that just days before he'd been talking about how dangerous these things were for women, and he was still pushing the vaccines and suggesting that vaccines would not harm pregnant women. So it's not just that Fauci in private was celebrating his own celebrity and wanting to be Zoom buddies with Julia Roberts and all these kinds of things. But he also was giving false information to the American people during a time when a lot of people were confused and concerned. Most Americans aren't scientists.
Alan, let's cut to the chase. He put people's lives in danger out of vanity. He put people's lives in danger because of his own vanity. Right or wrong?
I think that's right. I mean, if you look at his private diary, he's talking about Fauci mania and commenting on the bobbleheads that he's seen and about how, I saw that I was sexiest man alive and all these crazy things. I mean, it's actually a tragic story of somebody that fell in love with fame and is going to pay the consequences. And the other thing about Fauci is, when I think of communism and socialism, I associate it with things like gulags and mass arrests and forced collectivization, killing fields, re-education camps, secret police, travel restrictions on religious worship, all these things. But when I think about Dr. Fauci, I think about things that are very similar. I think about lockdowns, quarantines, and social distancing, mask mandates, travel restrictions, school closures, business closures, coerced isolations, restrictions on religious worship, forced vaccination. I mean, the fact that the Democrats on the Senate Homeland Security Committee bent over backwards to support this guy last week shows that they are really at bottom just totalitarians. They've shown that if they ever gain power, they're willing to lock down society, lock up and indoctrinate young children, close your schools and businesses and places of worship, trans your kids, restrict your travel, all these things. I mean, Fauci's name should be unspeakable. It should be consigned to the dark lexicon of unmentionable things which polite society just banishes.
I agree with you on every point you just made. And here's the question that people have. Will he be held accountable? It looks like the state of Florida and the attorney general there may take steps to file formal charges. The pardon's great at the federal level. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We can debate whether or not the auto pen's a legitimate pardon or not. But the fact of the matter is it does not protect him from state charges if he was out openly deceiving people that cost them their lives, their ability to see their loved ones, miscarriages, the list goes on, not to mention the closure of schools and everything else, the destruction of businesses. What he did is catastrophic in his lies in pursuit of vanity.
Absolutely catastrophic. And if the DOJ were to go forward with these charges of criminal contempt, it's really just a slap on the wrist. I mean,
it's meaningless.
It's a maximum of 12 months behind bars and a possible fine of up to $100,000. And we're talking about a guy that was getting prize money to the tune of millions based on locking down society.
And that's a good way to put it. Prize money.
Yeah.
It's like he was on a damn game show.
It was. I mean, it was wild. And, you know, like you say, the presidential pardon only covers federal crimes. So it will be interesting to see what can be done at the state level. Florida has announced investigation. They've actually already issued a subpoena. But then Louisiana, Alabama, Steve Marshall, the attorney general here in Alabama, I live in Alabama, has launched an investigation. Oklahoma, I think West Virginia, my law school buddy, J.B. McCuskey's AG there, I think they're looking into potential crimes. And yeah, I mean, we're going to see whether he knowingly made material false statements, and that would maybe potentially get him for fraud. Or, you know, I think the big thing is, did he destroy records? Did he alter records? Did he get rid of things? I mean, that to me could be really, really damaging to him. The other thing, though, is it's difficult because we may have to get around immunity charges. Or
Alan, here's my last question. I got about a minute left. Not
Okay.
quite. Did Anthony Fauci commit crimes against humanity? Because what he said didn't just echo across America, it echoed around the world. Last word to you.
Yeah, I don't know, because that has a very technical, a very technical meaning in international law. So I don't know. I don't want to say he did this and then it suggests that there's some sort of international tribunal or something that could hold him accountable. But look, what he did was horrible. He is. I think he's a criminal. I think he should be spending the rest of his days behind bars.
Alan, great conversation. I agree with you right across the board on this. This guy in pursuit of vanity, writing about himself. Dear Diary, you're the most beautiful man ever. The most popular man ever. Good grief. Alan, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most beautiful of them all? You, Anthony. Give me a break. The man should be in prison. I'll be right back on Daybreak. All right, Anthony Fauci. I'd like to know your thoughts on this. I would, because look, this guy, these text messages, on top of his diary, on top of everything that we know now, he didn't follow the science. He followed the cameras. He followed the fame. He followed his vanity. It's crystal clear. And the people complaining, well, you're going after Anthony Fauci. Yes. Yes, I am. He lied because he was so in love with himself, so enamored with himself. He probably has a giant room at home with pictures of himself and all the magazine covers framed and the clips on a loop so he can see himself all the time. It's really disgusting what he did to people. It really is. And there are things that people don't even talk about. What about the kids that were 17, 18 years old that dropped out of high school because school was closed and never came back? What's the price for that? People that left college. Maybe that was a good choice, but people that left college and never went back. What about the long-term generational damage? He was the tip of the spear into the heart of this country. That's a fact. And he wrote about it himself. We don't have to rely on anybody else's word for it. We can take his word for it because he was so enamored with himself. America was built by communities that believed in hard work, integrity, and taking care of one another. That's exactly how Old Glory Bank got its start. More than 120 years ago, Old Glory Bank began as a community bank in Elmore City, Oklahoma. Today, that same foundation serves tens of thousands of customers across all 50 states through secure online banking while holding fast to the values that form its roots. Old Glory Bank believes banking should be personal. They provide real customer service from real Americans while delivering modern banking tools for individuals, families, and, of course, businesses. They're also preparing for the future by expanding the innovative financial technology, all while remaining committed to privacy, security, and financial liberty. How important. Remember when banking was built on trust? It still is at Old Glory Bank. You can visit oldglorybank.com/RAV today. oldglorybank.com/RAV today. This part of the program brought to you by Old Glory Bank. All right, it's getting wild in Florida as some of those seats are up for grabs, like where Byron Donalds has been the member of Congress for a couple of terms now. That's the 19th. 10-way primary. It's getting rowdy down in Florida. Dwayne Moore is a political community leader, founder of the Dwayne Moore Foundation. He joins me now. Dwayne, nice to see you.
Hey, good morning, Steve. It's good to join you this morning, sir.
All right, so a wild 10-way House primary in Florida. Tell me about this race.
I mean, you're absolutely right. You know, it's heating up in Florida, not because of the climate, but because of everything that's going on leading up into the midterm elections with the primary. Obviously, you know, we got a lot of great candidates here, starting with the gubernatorial race. I mean, obviously, I'm in CD19, which is Byron Donald's, Congressional Officer Byron Donald's district, who's running in the gubernatorial race. You know, we love Byron Donalds because of what he's done here in CD19, but he got a little competition. I mean, he's going up against the Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins, James Fishback is threw his name in there, one of the state house reps, Paul Renner. All those guys are former veterans as well. I think James and Paul is Navy vets such as myself, and Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins served in the Army. Byron does not have that veteran experience, but he has the veteran experience on Capitol Hill. And so it's going to be a lot of competition there. But, you know, I love Byron. I love what he's done here in CD19. And I think he's going to make a great governor for the state of Florida.
You know, he has some competition, and he was way ahead in the polls, but it's tightened some. I still expect him to come out on top. Do you as well?
Yes, I mean, you know, obviously, you know, he's circling the state of Florida. I mean, it is a large state. I mean, we got 67 counties, 420 municipalities, and 20 villages. So he's having to circle his state. You're right. He jumped out to a great start in the poll. He's raised the most money, which really doesn't mean anything because it all counts at the ballot box. But you know, he's running on a great platform. You know, protecting the Everglades from red tide. That's big here. Hurricane release and disaster. You know, we go through a FEMA each time we have a major disaster when it relates to hurricanes here in the state of Florida. Tax reform, property taxes reform, and keeping a great state of Florida a free state. So he has a great platform. And so I think because of, you know, the platform that he's running on, it means a lot to the constituent base here and the citizens in the state of Florida.
What are the driving issues in the Florida race? Obviously, Florida is booming. People moving in every day, 500 to 1,000 new residents per day in some areas. I mean, it's remarkable what's happened in Florida. What are the big issues facing the people that you talk to?
You know, I think that's one of the biggest issues. I mean, we've even coming from Governor Ron DeSantis, there's been talks about, you know, what are we going to do with tax reform in relation to property taxes? That's a big concern. You know, border protection and security. Obviously, you know, we are a border state. There's a major concern about, you know, making sure we keep this state as well as our country protected from illegal immigrants that's coming over that's not citizen. So, I think, you know, it would segue into what Byron Donald's platform really means to the Florida's here, the citizens here in Florida, is to make sure we continue to protect the borders, to make sure from a security standpoint of view that the borders are protected from illegal immigrants, as well as, you know, being able to be much more executionary with the property tax reform project that most Floridians has a major concern about, especially, you know, here in CD19. And I would love to get off into that here in a second.
Yeah, tell me about CD19. It's one of my favorite parts of the entire state of Florida. It's a spectacular piece of real estate. And who do you think it really is? You know that, you live there. I've visited many times. My wife's from Florida, so we spend time there and love that part of the state. Who's going to come out on top in this primary? Your best guess.
Oh my goodness! I remember when we started out, we had about 9 candidates that had launched out, you know, for CD19 to replace Byron Donalds. You know, we got some veterans. Mike Peterson, he hasn't polled really well, but I think the top 3 obviously will be Jim Schwartzel, Jim Overwise, and Catalina Lau. You know, we got Madison Cawthorn. That's a former congressional officer from the state of North Carolina that's here in this district as well. But, you know, from what we see in polling-wise, the top 3 is going to be Jim Schwartzel, Jim Overwise, and Catalina Lau.
Yeah, so it's going to be a tight race. When do we get to find out?
We go August the 18th for the primaries. You know, I think each one of those, in that top 3 that's polling, you know, many strengths. Matter of fact, I had the opportunity to talk to Jim Schwartzel on last night, and I threw the question out there. I said, man, if you had a weakness, what would your weakness be? And obviously, he's not a career politician. He's a strong businessman that has built businesses here in the Southwest Florida region. But he established that may be his weakness. He don't have the political experience, but he have the business knowledge and the economic knowledge. Got an opportunity to talk to Jim Overwise. His weakness, obviously, he just turned 80 years old. And obviously, we know what happens as you get older. The mind may not be as sharp, even though you have wisdom principles. Catalina is fresh. She's intelligent. So it's going to be tough. But, at the end of the day, we got to be able to select and elect the right individual that's going to keep the America First agenda in front of them and not their own motor operandi or their own business or personal agenda.
Yeah. A lot on the line, obviously. I think that if I'm, DeSantis is term limited, but his last couple of years in office, I think he has done an impressive job as the governor of Florida in enacting the policies to protect the free state of Florida, as everybody calls it, from the intrusion of the socialists like we see in New York or Wisconsin or wherever else. Give me a grade for Ron DeSantis as governor overall.
I've been in this state, obviously I've been in and out of the state vacationing for many years. I've lived in the state of Florida for the last 3 years. And if I was to give Ron DeSantis a grade, I would give him an A plus. I just got an appointment, from Governor Ron DeSantis, so I couldn't give him nothing less than A plus. But I'm not saying that, just because I got this appointment, but he's a great governor. He's a great governor.
Not a time to take shots, Dwayne. Not a time to say, hey, I don't like this. Yeah, just got a job. Well, that's great, and I appreciate you being here. I do. August 18th, I think that's part of a problem. Michigan's primary happens in August. August 3rd it happened. We've got primaries today in Wisconsin, South Carolina, and Vermont. I think they're too late. I think they need to come earlier in the year so you have a longer general election season. My opinion. Last word to you.
No, I totally agree. August 18th is the primary, then we go into the general November 3rd. It's just not enough time. And, especially when you're dealing with the states that have runoffs. So, if you're talking about states that have runoff, it may not be till like late September, before you find out who actually ran who won that runoff, in the primary. So I would love to see them be a little bit earlier as well.
All right. Dwayne, good conversation, my friend. Thank you for being here today. Keep the faith. We'll check in on the 18th.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it. Can't say anything bad about the man that just gave me a job. I understand, and I appreciate that. I feel great today, by the way, because of my ghost bed. I got home from vacation. The only thing that I missed while traveling the rivers of Montana with Ivy in our adventure van was not having a ghost bed in the van. They do make RV mattresses. They're American-made sleeping systems. You're going to sleep better. You're going to sleep longer. Anthony just got one. God bless America. It's a great thing. You can try it for 101 nights. And if you don't like it, honestly, you can send it back. They're fine with it. I don't think you will. I think you're going to love it. Ghostbed.com/Gruber. The promo code is Gruber. You're going to save 10% off the best prices of the year on the Ghost Bed. And you're going to be pleased because you're going to be well refreshed when you watch Daybreak. Back after this. All right, a little insider information here. I drive a diesel pickup truck. It's the 3-liter Chevy Silverado. I love it. It gets 25 miles to the gallon. I can't beat it. So even when diesel's $5 a gallon or $5.29, I think I paid most recently, I'm still winning because my gas mileage is 50% higher than the gas model I had previously. So I'm kind of a diesel fan. So is my next guest, Rand Taylor, CEO and co-founder of Fuel Ox. Rand, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. But diesel prices at $5.32 is the national average as I look at it right now. The record price got to about $6 a gallon in the summer of 2022. So it's not as high as it was during the Biden administration, but it's higher than the trucking industry would like, that's for sure. How much of a challenge is this to over-the-road truck drivers and companies?
It's a huge challenge. I mean, particularly, I want to accentuate the fact that it's a really big challenge for the independent guys more than it is for the big truck companies. Now, don't get me wrong. Every trucking company is having issues because of it, okay? But the bigger companies have the ability to withstand a little bit more pain than the independent guys do. So these guys, I mean, they're paying for it right out of their pocket. And it's really hard for them to pass the costs on in surcharges, although they do. But it's hard to catch up because once you get behind, you can't put the surcharges on day one. So now they're starting to put surcharges on. But the independent guys, like I said, they've been paying this for out of their pocket for, since this started a year ago.
Sure. And if you have an older, less efficient rig, that makes it even tougher, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, you got guys, most of the guys on the road with the old stuff, they're getting 5 or 6, maybe 7 miles a gallon. The newer ones get 8 or 9 miles a gallon. And that's a big difference, I mean, basically what these guys are doing is they're paying between 80 and 85 cents a mile just for fuel.
Just for fuel. And that's not taking care of the motor, taking care of the undercarriage, taking care of the rest of the equipment. That's just the fuel at 85 cents a mile. And obviously that's reflected in every store you go to and shop, whether it's a big box store for lumber or a big store for groceries. It impacts everyone, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And anyone that thinks that these costs are not going to be passed down to all of us is living in a fantasy world, because they truly are. That's why prices are going up, and this is one of the biggest reasons for it.
So outside of the conflict with Iran, things were going pretty well in the fuel price area, whether it was gasoline or diesel. So what's your message? Do you want the war to come to a conclusion? At what cost? What does the future look like, and what do you hope to see happen?
We all want to see the war to end for a myriad of different reasons, right? I mean, we just don't, let's face it, we don't want war, but the biggest thing for the fuel efficiency the fuel prices, I mean, yeah, you want the Strait of Hormuz open, you want the stuff start to move, but
well, I think maybe we lost him for a second. We lost you just for a second there. Boss, go ahead, say it again.
Yeah, so we have issues in the background that have to do with refineries. I mean, Yemen, has hit a couple of the refineries in the UAE. We don't talk about the fact Ukraine's hit a couple of refineries in Russia, and getting all these back online doesn't happen overnight. So even if the war were to end, there's still going to be a lag time before we can get prices at the pump back where they should be.
Is there a sweet spot for you where you think fuel is? I mean, look, it can only be so cheap. Oil today is at $84 a barrel. It's not out of sight. This is what I have issues with this, because it's nowhere near the price of oil at $129 a barrel when Joe Biden was in office in 2022, and yet the fuel prices are pretty close to where they were then. Chevron and Exxon and everybody else posting record profits. They're cashing in on this deal. So, I mean, who do you think is most responsible, and what's that sweet spot?
You know what? You bring up a really good point, and it's that price difference between the pump and what the refiners are paying for crude oil. Okay, and that is your VIG, so to speak. That it seems like that particular spread is much larger than it should be right now. And I know that the industry experts that are, part of the oil industry are not going to like me saying it, but I think that spread has got to come down. If they're only paying $80 a barrel for crude, there's no reason why diesel fuel should be $5.50 a gallon.
Totally agree with I've been preaching from that same gospel for a while now. I appreciate you saying it. I feel the same way. And I said at the beginning of the war, when the price of oil skyrocketed, that the oil companies would make big profits, and of course they did. Fuel Ox, tell the folks what Fuel Ox is, because you're a fuel additive company, so you're not the fuel person per se, but you're the additive to keep those older rigs on the road and other things. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we're unlike any other fuel additive that you're going to find. We're not on the shelves in any of the big stores. You're not going to find it there. We've been around for 12 years. The product itself has been around for about 30 years. But it's a fuel additive with a combustion catalyst in it. It's a ferrocene combustion catalyst that gets your fuel to combust about 30% earlier for both diesel and gasoline. So it gives you more power, it gives you better fuel efficiency. We're usually in that 5 to 10% range of fuel efficiency. But if you're driving a diesel, we're going to reduce your emissions by about 60, 70% as well, which takes a lot of strain off your diesel particulate filters, your EGRs, and all those costs that are associated with the maintenance of your emission systems.
And you're going to give me a couple miles. You're going to give me a couple extra miles a gallon on my pickup truck?
It'll definitely give you some better mileage for sure. Yeah. And it works in everything you own,
Yeah. Looks like I need some Fuel Ox there, Rand. Thank you for joining us here today. We'll keep an eye on the prices, of course, because it affects everybody. And you just helped me out, and Anthony, too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. And you can find us on Amazon or on our website, fuelox.com.
Rand Taylor from Fuel Ox. Sir, thank you. Fuelox.com. If you've got a diesel and you want to know more, there it is. I do. Anthony just bought a diesel, so we're all in this diesel thing together. Maybe we'll try Fuel Ox. What do you think, Anthony? Are we going to try it?
I'd give it a shot.
Why not? Yeah. Give me a couple miles a gallon. I'll take that all day long. I'll take a break and have sports straight ahead on Daybreak. All right, let's check it on sports now with Brock.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. 10 games in Major League Baseball last night. American League winners included Toronto and Minnesota. National League winners included Philadelphia and the New York Mets. Another notable NFL signing yesterday, the Dallas Cowboys gave defensive tackle Quinnen Williams a 3-year contract extension worth just under $106 million. The Cowboys got Williams in a trade with the New York Jets just before last year's trade deadline. He is a 4-time Pro Bowl selection. Also in the NFL, the Detroit Lions lost starting center Cade Mays due to a wrist injury. The NFL Network's Ian Rappaport says he'll be out 8 to 10 weeks. Mays was the Lions' top free agent acquisition this offseason. He began his career with the Carolina Panthers. In the WNBA last night, the Atlanta Dream took down the Toronto Tempo 107-95. Ryan Howard had 22 points to lead the Dream. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. Greatly appreciate it. As we mentioned earlier, Donald Trump gets to extend his lawsuit of $10 billion against the BBC. Good news for Donald Trump, that's for sure. The BBC, if you don't know, they had this document called Panorama. And they took clips from his speech on January the 6th, but they edited a piece from the beginning of the speech and then took a piece 57 minutes later, give or take, to put it together to make it look like he was antagonizing people to go attack the Capitol, which was completely false. So he gets to continue his lawsuit. Big win in court yesterday for the president. This part of the program brought to you by PuroVet. PuroClean's Veterans Initiative, PuroVet program, because life after service deserves opportunity, ownership, and purpose. If you're a veteran and you want to be in the home restoration business, this is your opportunity. 855-PuroVet or purovet.com. Go find out what they've got to offer for you. In the meantime, make sure you send me emails at stevegruber.com, stevegruber.com. Always want to hear what you've got going on. Our eyes are on South Carolina, Wisconsin, a little bit on Vermont. We'll see what happens there with our previous guest this morning. And keep an eye on all of this DSA activity. What's happening in your state? stevegruber.com. Send me a note. Look forward to reading it. Back after this.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now.
All right, and welcome back to it as we jump into a brand new hour here of Daybreak. Glad to have you on board for the conversation. Three big things this hour. Number one, the price of oil continues to be pretty decent, actually. It's at $83, coming down a little bit. Not too bad. Number two, big primaries today in Wisconsin and South Carolina, keeping an eye on that. And number three, and this is important, number three, and that is this whole swing to the left by the Democrat Party. It's an implosion. That's what some Democrats are calling it. In fact, the Attorney General of Michigan, Dana Nessel, who's Jewish, says she can't even go to the nominating convention for fear that she'll be accosted by her own party. The two-term Attorney General of Michigan is too scared to go to a Democrat event because she is Jewish. Listen to this. Number two.
Myself and other Jewish electeds are subjected to a barrage of anti-Semitic threats. And that's been happening literally since my first day in office in 2019, long before October 7th. But in addition to that, what we've seen in the Democratic Party as of late in here in Michigan is that we're not seeing the same kind of civil discourse that we used to be able to have, and the ability to have a diversity of ideas and opinions that are, respected.
Is your party doing enough to address those concerns, Madam Attorney General?
Yeah, I would say absolutely they're not. And I would just point to the example that we have 5 members of the Democratic Party who have been charged with anti-Semitic acts of violence, of vandalism and harassment and threats to other Democratic officials, some of whom are Jewish, and including an attack on the Jewish Federation of Detroit.
Can you imagine being a lifelong Democrat, a lifelong Jewish Democrat, and Jewish voters in America my entire life have leaned Democrat for whatever reason, doesn't matter, and she is not comfortable going to the Democrat gathering for fear of how she will be treated. And if you read between the lines, that includes being accosted, right? And Nessel also has big problems with Abdul El-Sayed being the Senate candidate for the Democrats in Michigan right now. Listen to this.
Yeah, do I have some things I'd like to talk to you, Abdul, about? Certainly. I want to talk about some of the language that he uses on the campaign trail. And I also want to speak to him about some of the surrogates that he uses that, are concerning to some people.
Yeah, very concerning to people like her, for example, right? All right, so I made Anthony do a lot of work on this next clip. He does the editing of the sound bites before the program. This next one is so laced with profanity, he had to work overtime to get it figured out, but I think you should hear it. It's Hassan Piker, the guy born in America and then taken back home to Turkey, where he was raised to hate America. And now he's returned to America to continue hating America, but he gets to do it as an American citizen because of birthright citizenship. Here's a case study of why we shouldn't allow this to happen, all right? And here he is. You just make of it what you will. Here it is.
There's a ton of work to do mending bridges. Here's the take nuke for you, okay? You are all unbelievably Islamophobic pieces of shit, okay? You literally called the dude a terrorist for months on end and called him a sexist, misogynist, terrorist, bad candidate, fake doctor when he has 2 degrees, and now you're gonna sit there and be like, well, you really got to come to me now. What are you talking about? Do you want to win or not? Lock the in, okay? Lock the in. And I do worry that there are some out there who, in an effort to make sure that this narrative that a progressive can win in a state like Michigan doesn't take root, will literally either subtly or, not so secretively endorse Mike Rogers. Okay.
That's your poster child for the socialist communist movement in America. A man proudly carrying the Democrat flag. I guess Democrats must be proud of that. They must be, because they have this guy out on the campaign trail with them. They think that guy's the closer. How's that selling in Shiawassee County? How's that selling in Clinton County, Hillsdale County, Branch County, Wayne County? How's that selling? Not particularly well, I don't believe, but there's your closer for Abdul El Sayed. And by the way, Mark Long, one of those lifelong Democrats who says, man, you're seeing the death spiral of the Democrat Party. Been here since 1828, and it's collapsing. Listen to this.
Look, this is a political implosion of the Democratic Party. To have your Senate nominees, and I agree with Senator Fetterman, palling around with Hassan Piker, anti-American, anti-Semitic, anti-capitalist, really the most extreme kind of policies which are anathema to Bill Clinton Democrats, right, who were trying to bring the country together, move it forward, get rid of poverty, balance the budget, do those great things for America. So this party is veering off of the rails. Will it come back? It's frankly going to take the Republican and independent voters to bring it back and to show where America really stands.
It's going to take Republicans to save the Democrat Party. Mark Penn, Bill Clinton's pollster, lifelong Democrat, right? Oh, and by the way, go to Byte 11, would you? John Fetterman gets nasty emails. Who do the nastiest of the emails come from? I'll let him tell you. Listen to this.
It's just been my personal experience on this thing. And when I asked my digital team, I said, we're on all the platforms, really what's kind of the harshest, what's kind of the most personal? And the answer was immediate. He said, blue sky, it's blue sky. And the difference is, the right would say really rough things and names, some names I won't repeat on TV, but the on the left, it was like they want me to die, or that we're cheering for your next stroke, or that's terrible that depression won. Why couldn't it depression won? And I hope your kids find you. They even have like the graphic, a GIF where they have like a stroke, in your head, cheering at that. Yeah, and they said that. I remember one, they claimed, the doctor let us down, and why did they have to save his life? It's just been my personal...
There you have CNN aghast at the conduct of the vile left. Come on. Wake up. John Fetterman gets the nastiest comments from the left. Of course he does. Back after this. All right. Well, the primary here in Michigan is in the rearview mirror, of course. You've got your candidates for governor, for U.S. Senate, the two big races that are being watched nationally. Okay, they are in the rearview mirror, so we've got our matchups for November. And it's time to debate. It's time to get on the stage and debate. Joining me is Katie Hyde from Michigan News Source, my news company. Katie, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so I think you just put out an article that you've got. Do you have a debate schedule? What do we have?
Well, the candidates didn't waste any time after last week's primary. They jumped right into November. And so John James' campaign has agreed to 3 debates. He's challenged Jocelyn Benson to 5 debates. She's agreed to 2. So if you can follow those numbers, they're going to wind up on the debate stage at some point this fall. I would argue that debates are important. I'm sure you would too, Steve. It's nice to hear from candidates in the long form, talk a little bit more about these issues that matter to Michiganders outside of those short viral media clips that our attention allows now. But you could also ask, are 5 debates necessary to distinguish between the ideas of Jocelyn Benson and John James? Jocelyn Benson is in a tough spot, and I'm curious what you think too, Steve. Michigan is coming off of 8 years of Democratic leadership, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and Benson needs to do one of 2 things. Either one, say why it's good for Michigan to continue moving in the same direction, or she breaks with her boss and her party to change course. Well, she's not going to do that. That's not what Democrats do. They get behind a candidate, they close in the ranks, and they push forward to the next election. We saw where Governor Whitmer got behind Haley Stevens for the primary and then immediately is backing Abdul El-Sayed. So that's what Benson needs to focus on. John James needs to offer why his time in office is going to undo those Whitmer policies and undo everything that she's done. We've got a bloated state budget, her mega site debacles, certainly her COVID policies that have permeated her administration, and highlight why Democrats aren't good for Michigan. John James did release a statement this morning. He said, quote, "This November, the choice will be clear. We offer freedom. They offer socialism. We offer change. They offer continued decline. We offer common sense. They offer crazy," unquote. That's John James this morning.
That's quite a statement. Obviously, a lot of focus nationally, not on that race, but on the race for the United States Senate. Abdul El-Sayed, the Democrat now, who's clearly, whether he calls himself a DSA member or not, has been to DSA fundraisers, has Hassan Piker, one of the most vile people I've ever heard, out there as his closer against Mike Rogers. I'll call Mike Rogers a normie, just an average guy. You might not agree with him politically. Okay, I get that, but he's not a flamethrower, a bomb thrower. He seems pretty normal to me, pretty obviously. I think Mike Rogers wins this race for a variety of reasons, but Abdul El-Sayed will have a pile of money, won't he?
He will, and he has the backing of, like you mentioned, Hassan Piker, which I don't necessarily understand. And I listened to that clip that you played before our segment. You are correct. Absolutely vile. He's been referred to as a campaign surrogate. And Abdul has said, well, he's a streamer. He does his thing. Well, Abdul El-Sayed hasn't denounced him either. So like all mothers have said, you are who you hang around with, right? Abdul does have a lot of money in his coffers, and he seems to be drawing those contributions to his campaign again. And I've been in this business, and you have too, Steve, too long to say Mike Rogers is a shoo-in. Now, people have argued that he will probably have an easier time when you face him up against those really anti-American, anti-Western values that Abdul El-Sayed has, but that's a lot of time between now and November. What Mike Rogers needs to do is point out why those policies are bad for Michigan and bad for America. Abdul El-Sayed has said repeatedly he doesn't like ICE. And so the follow-up question is, well, then what are you arguing? Do you want illegals to come into this country unchecked? Do you want them to stay here? Do you want them to commit crimes? And if you don't, then what's the alternative? To deport these people. These are the ideas that I would, if I was Mike Rogers' campaign advisor, you need to constantly put that in front of the Michigan voters so that they remember exactly who is what are the stakes in this race?
Well, I heard a number of Haley Stevens voters at her primary election night event say, won't vote for Abdul, won't do it. In fact, some of them said they would cross the line and vote for Mike Rogers. It only takes 1 in 20. If 5% of the Haley voters come over, it's all over. And that's just one of the paths to victory for Mike Rogers. And I believe, look, I've got some Democrat friends. Katie, you probably do as well. I've talked to them. They said, I can't vote for Abdul. These are people between 40 and 60 who say, I can't do it, and I won't do it. I think the Democrats have a big problem with black voters and working class voters. Pretty clear on primary night. Haley Stevens won Wayne and Oakland County by wide margins, and she won all 15 of the poorest counties in Michigan, that being working class people. Abdul went 0 for 15, so pretty clear. Anyhow, last word to you.
Well, there's a group called Democrats for Mike Rogers, and it kind of goes to your point, where they're more concerned about their country than they are their party. And I think that's where we might see things go between now and November. So certainly not anything we're going to be stepping away from. Michigan News Source will be covering this from now until November. We've got plenty of things to write about. Certainly will be viewed on a national stage as well. But to follow all of those stories, head to MichiganNewsSource.com.
You got it. Katie, running the show there and doing it well. Greatly appreciate it, Katie. Nice to see you today.
You too.
All right. So there you have it, MichiganNewsSource.com. Trying to give you the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. We're going to tell it how it is. And you can take it at face value because the team at Michigan News Source working hard every day to keep you informed of everything happening statewide, not just the elections, but everything else. I'll take a break and be back. This is Daybreak. All right, so check this out, right? The DSA, they want to defund the police, and the DSA, that's Abdul El-Sayed. It's Will Lawrence in the 7th Congressional District for the Democrats. Defund the police, close prisons, open the border, government-run health care for everybody. Union members, is that what you want? Is that what you fought for with your union contract, was for the government to take away your Obamacare or take away all of your dental benefits and your medical benefits? Is that what you fought for? Because I don't think so. So I think the rank and file union members are going to say, wait a second, I'm not giving control of my contract to the government. We'll see how they vote in November. But I've got a DSA leader in California failing miserably to explain defunding the police and prisons. Listen to this.
Your policy agenda on law enforcement is to defund police, ultimately to get rid of police departments, correct?
Well, what I would say is that we're dramatically overspending on police right now.
I understand, but the goal is to defund the police departments so we don't need them in the future.
I think it's what we really want to see is a horizon where folks are not reliant on armed enforcement to meet our public safety needs.
Right, but it says defund police on the website. That's your goal. And also to get rid of prisons and jails, correct?
Yes.
So if my daughter is assaulted and raped, is there any agency that would seek to find her assailant and bring him to justice?
Of course, yeah, of course.
What
absolutely.
would it be if not police, and where would he be if not a jail?
So I guess I really want to avoid getting kind of caught into these hypotheticals and talk more about the reality that we're actually facing right now, which is that we're spending absolutely outrageous amounts of money.
I don't want to get caught answering questions about an outrageous series of ideas that have no basis in reality. Who's going to arrest the rapist? Where's the rapist going to go to prison? If there are no police, there are no prisons. Well, who takes care of this person? I don't want to get into hypotheticals. Really? She ought to get into the mental hospital and check her meds. Just saying. For a few million friends. I'll be right back. All right, let's get back into it. Line 5 has been a conversation for a long time now. A chance for Michigan to step into the 21st century and deliver energy in a safe, effective way with an underground tunnel that Enbridge would pay for and then hand over to the state of Michigan. The original purchase price, $500 million, but it's gone on for so long, I'm sure the price has gone higher because of legal fees and other conflicts. And then just a few days ago, the Michigan Supreme Court sent them back to the MPSC to get a permit that they already have. Ryan Duffy is with me from Enbridge. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Strange turn of events, I would say. You already have the permit, and it was challenged by some folks, and now you have to go back and get the same permit over again. It seems odd to me. Your thoughts?
Well, for sure, it's frustrating and it's disappointing for us, no doubt. I mean, that Michigan Supreme Court decision does send that approval that we already had for a couple years now back to the Michigan Public Service Commission to look at it again. So what's most disappointing is the delay, the additional delay we're now going to have for the project with this going back to the commission because they've already reviewed it for more than 5 years now. And the review they did was really extensive. It was thorough, fact-based, and it approved that replacement of Line 5 replacement section to go into a deep underground tunnel. So the tunnel, of course, is specifically designed to protect the environment in the Great Lakes and make sure that critical energy people need is delivered. So now there's going to be another lengthy delay. So we're reviewing the decision at this point, assessing all the legal options. What I can tell you is Line 5 continues to be safe. We remain committed to operating it safely and responsibly, incorporating those enhanced safety measures we have in the straits. And a court decision also doesn't change the need for Line 5. It's safely transporting those natural gas liquids used to make propane for homes and businesses. The majority of propane used all across the state. It's supplying those regional refineries that make all the things that we use every day, the transportation fuel, jet fuel, all those consumer products. And there's no existing alternatives that are ever going to be able to replace that.
Yeah, no existing alternatives. A state-of-the-art underground tunnel that could be used not just for transferring energy, but communications lines, fiber lines, whatever it might be. The state of Michigan can use it for all sorts of great things to enhance the quality of life for people on both sides of the bridge, right?
Well, right. I mean, absolutely. It was identified as being the best solution going forward back in 2018 when we signed an agreement with the state. So that's really what's interesting. This came about because of an agreement with the state. Legislation was passed advancing this tunnel solution, and that's what we've been working on ever since then. We've been working on trying to keep this moving forward.
All right, so going back to the MPSC, was there anything missing? You said it was an exhaustive review. You've already been down this path. You got to go back. Has the MPSC changed? What's different today from where we were when you got your first permit a couple years back?
Right, that's the question. It was very thorough. It took a long time. We filed that first application in 2020, and so the commission didn't issue an approval until 2023. And during that time, there was a lot of public comment. Then we had a public hearing, multiple contested case hearings before a judge. There was the briefing and the review by the MPSC staff. And after that review was concluded, the MPSC found there is a public need for that replacement segment, and the tunnel design and the replacement pipeline that'll be in there, it really meets or exceeds all the current safety and engineering standards. And then the Michigan Court of Appeals later upheld that decision. So what the MPSC found is the tunnel approach actually helps protect those natural cultural resources at the Great Lakes by moving that pipeline crossing there at the Straits off the lake bed and away from that potential risk of any anchor strikes there.
The state approved your Eagle environmental permits, right? That happened last month. So everything is in line here. It's remarkable to me how the court could intervene and say, get your permits again. To me, look, I've been gone for a few days, as you know, and I was shocked when I saw this news. How many times do you have to get the permit? How many times do you have to jump through the hoop? I mean, frustrating, I think, is a pretty mild word if I was sitting in your position.
Well, that's how the process has been here. It seems like for sure, kind of one step forward, two steps back at times. That's what we've been going through. It's been a long, extended permitting process. Those Eagle permit renewals, though, that was a positive step. I mean, that's a milestone. We were able to renew those with just a couple conditions, so there is still some work there to do. But going into that was more than 6 years of technical review, public input, environmental, cultural survey work, working with the state and federal regulators. And so, that was a big decision for us there for those Eagle environmental permits. So it's good to have those permit renewals, but that's not even the final step with those. The state's asked for some additional information on how we're going to protect cultural and archaeological artifacts there at the Straits. So we're going to be working on that too.
Tell me about that. I mean, that has been one of the challenges, archaeological, cultural artifacts for the native tribes of Michigan and so forth. What's been done there to assuage their concerns?
Yeah, that's an important piece, and we've done a lot with that as far as protecting those cultural resources. We've done a significant amount of work. That work's also going to be continuing now. Since 2019, we completed more than 20 cultural surveys in and around the Straits. So that's land and lake bottom archaeological cultural surveys, historical assessments, other environmental studies there. So in total, our teams put in more than 40,000 hours of cultural and environmental survey work. And so that really reflects how thoroughly the site's been studied before any construction is even going to begin. So we did that work with the Army Corps of Engineers. They lead the process. And then all the survey findings have been provided to the Army Corps. And then tribal representatives, too, have been consulting parties in this as the process has gone along. And we're very much committed to working with those tribal communities, the regulators. We want to protect, preserve any discoveries. Once we start construction, any discoveries that might come up as work is happening. And we really do that and want to do that because the Straits are a place of real deep historical, cultural significance. So that means when we do this kind of work, it has to be handled carefully and very respectfully. And that's what we do.
It's remarkable. All right, so real quick, any idea how much time this new permit for the permit you already had will take? Last word to you.
Not yet. We're still assessing that. We know it's going to be a delay. We're not quite sure how long quite yet. But again, what doesn't change is the need for Line 5, and we know that's there, and that's why we're going to continue to push forward.
Ryan Duffy, always a good conversation. We'll see what happens next because twists and turns for 8 years now. Greatly appreciate your time, Ryan. Thank you.
Okay, anytime. Thanks.
Yeah. Seems that some folks will just fight a good idea. No matter how good the idea is, they're going to fight it. It seems odd to me. And we'll talk about it, all right? I got Ivy coming in next. I want to share something with her. A major announcement from President Trump yesterday. If you missed it, I'm going to share it. Ivy and I will talk about it and so much more straight ahead on Daybreak. All right, welcome back to the program as we roll on here and look at everything that's going on. Ivy's back with me now. And Ivy, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but President Trump was in the Oval Office, and he changed everything about the childhood vaccine schedule.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, I'd like to share with the folks a little bit of what he said. Listen to this.
So, in a nutshell, and you can see it through this, we're breaking up the vaccines and we're breaking them up into time periods. Okay, not so complicated. And we think we're going to have a tremendous result from doing that. Very simply, large amounts of vaccine, large amounts of like vats of vaccine are currently pumped into your child's body. And we're doing 20% of that at each visit.
So there you have it. I don't know if you knew this, Ivy. The vaccine schedule is up to 93.
Yeah.
93 vaccines for kids, up to a couple years of age. So one of the big takeaways here is they're trying to figure out, and they're getting mocked for this and ridiculed for this, they're trying to figure out where does this big explosion of autism come from? Mm-hmm. And the medical community is saying, well, we're just noticing it now more. Well, then why aren't you noticing it in adults? That'd be well, you don't notice it in adults, but all these kids are getting it? Come on.
Yeah.
It's like 1 in 30. It's 1 in 12 and a half boys in California. 1 in 12 and a half in California. So almost
That's
a 10%
lot.
incident.
Interesting.
It's crazy. So it's any person watching can say, obviously, there's something environmental. Mm-hmm. Is it the vaccines? I don't know.
Right.
Is it worth looking at? Yes, of course it is. What are your thoughts?
Is it PFAS? Is it any other environmental chemical that could be causing it? I think a lot of people question why the vaccine schedule has gotten so heavy and why it's so necessary for young infants, even into a couple of years of age, need so many vaccines so closely together. And I think that's why they're trying to break this up. How were vaccines like, Steve, actually, I'm curious, when you were a kid, do you recall, was it like a bunch at one time or was just a few?
Well, I don't recall my own vaccines, to be fair. But, I mean, look, they're not anti-vax. They like the polio vaccine. They like the measles vaccine. But what they also said was...
I was just curious if you recalled, like, if there was a shift in, say...
There has been.
How many...
Since about 1990, there's been an uptick every year, more and more and more and more.
And what is it, I believe there are some vaccinations that are great and are necessary, especially if you work, in certain environments.
Sure.
But are they so necessary and so many when you just have an infant child?
Well, that's one of the points I made yesterday. They've given parents the option of spreading them out. Right. Instead of getting them all before you're 6 months of age, they spread it out over a couple of years at least to disperse all these chemicals that are being introduced into the body, right?
Sure.
So there's one step forward. I can tell you, I don't remember getting this number of vaccines when my kids were young.
Right.
And one of the vaccines that they're concerned about is the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, the MMR vaccine.
Mm-hmm. And they're breaking those up so that you
Correct.
don't get them all at once. You
Correct.
get, mumps in one, you get rubella in another, and you get whatever the third one is, I don't call. And then so you
measles,
break,
mumps, and rubella, right?
Yeah, so
Correct.
measles. So you break those up so they're not as concentrated in one. It seems to make sense to me. You're still getting vaccinated just over a longer period of time.
And eliminating some of them. Look,
and eliminating some.
I don't know what people's take is on Robert F. Kennedy Jr., but I will say this. He has done more to bring awareness to vaccines. Maybe you're for them, maybe you're not, but the discussion is happening, and that's a good thing. Because the point that he makes is, a lot of these vaccines were given a pass because the company said, well, they're safe and effective. Where have I heard that before?
Right.
It's
well,
all safe
for
and effective.
myself, I am not like a flu vaccine person. I never have been.
I am not either.
And I never had been growing up. Actually, I remember when I was a kid, I had a really bad reaction to a vaccination. And I remember very specifically recall being very, very sick afterwards. And so just from that memory as a young child, I'm like, why would I go back and do that again as an adult, thinking back to that? And I do recall actually being a flu vaccination. So I hadn't gotten a flu vaccination. Does it work for some people? Perhaps if you're older and you are immune compromised, maybe that's great for you. But for me personally, I don't take the flu vaccination. But I'm not discouraging you if you want to do that. It's not a big deal. But I do think it's something to be looked into. And I actually applaud RFK for doing this and bringing some attention to it, because it does need to be scrutinized heavily. Whatever we're putting in our bodies needs to be scrutinized, because if it has a long-term negative effects, then we should have the right to know that.
Absolutely, and that's the point.
Absolutely.
We need to know what the evaluations show, what the tests show, what the studies show. I mean, as we sit here and watch all the information come out about COVID and Anthony Fauci,
oh my word,
I think it is only healthy to ask a lot of questions now about all of it.
Wow.
I mean, how many Anthony Faucis are there? That'd be my question.
I'm
how
sorry,
many other
but
people are out there?
How can you have a negative reaction from the vaccination, not tell anyone, and then get treated? That to me is just absolutely mind-blowing.
What's criminal here is he knew that the miscarriage rate in the first trimester
was high.
80%.
Yeah.
That's 4 out of 5.
Why immediately did he not come out and say, hey, those of you who are pregnant
don't
in the
take
first
the second
trimester,
shot.
do not do it.
Yeah, don't take the. It's the second shot.
That's horrible.
It's criminal.
How do you live with yourself?
How is that? And I'll just ask the open question for my attorney friends listening. How is that not negligent manslaughter at a minimum, or murder at a maximum?
When you knew
When you knew.
you didn't come out and say something.
Yeah, it's. I asked the guest earlier if it's crimes against humanity. He said, well, that's a specific definition. Well, maybe it is. But Anthony Fauci pursued policies based on vanity, not science. And that's pretty clear now.
But Steve, it was all about the science.
Yeah. Television science. Anyhow, we got to leave it there for today. It's important stuff, and I'm glad people are talking about it. And I appreciate that we're having this conversation. Ivy, it's important stuff, and
I agree.
People need to know what they're putting in their bodies. My body, my choice, right? Isn't that what the left tells me? My body, my choice.
That's right. Unless you don't agree, they don't agree, or you don't agree with them, and then therefore you're XYZ.
Right. Anyhow, love you.
Love you.
All right. Take a break. Final thoughts after this. All right, busy day. And again, all eyes are going to be on Wisconsin and South Carolina today. Wisconsin, Francesca Hong. So radical that she can't even get an endorsement from Bernie Sanders. She is the odds-on favorite to win the nomination to be the Democratic nominee for governor in the state of Wisconsin. An avowed DSA member. So if you thought the virus or this cancer of communism was contained to New York City, you were mistaken. Abdul El Sayed won the Democratic nomination barely, but he won in Michigan. Francesca Hong is going to win in Wisconsin. And look, in the short term, that's good news. I think Mike Rogers wins in Michigan. I think Tom Tiffany, the Republican candidate for governor, wins there come November 3rd. But don't kid yourself. This cancer is growing because we allowed our schools to teach kids to hate America. We allowed birthright citizenship to take people like Hassan Piker, born here, go be raised in Turkey, hate America, and come back and preach hatred of our country. We've allowed people to continue to beat the drum of hatred for America. So I believe we win in November, and it could be one of two things. We could beat back this communism. A census comes in 2030. Republicans, if they can hold on to the House and hold on to the Senate and have Donald Trump complete his second term and get the agenda closer to complete, we're in pretty good shape. More states will redistrict before the 2028 presidential election year. And then, of course, the census in 2030. You could add as many as 30 Republican seats in the House, meaning Democrats are permanently the minority. That would be better than what we're looking at right now. Fight the good fight and keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is Daybreak. And remember, only you can save America, so make sure you vote.